Hey everyone, welcome back to the Retro Reef, and I just finished the Pokemon Ribbon Challenge, and after about 150 plus hours, I wanted to share my thoughts and experiences on the challenge itself. So in case you don't know what the Ribbon Challenge is, it's very different than just playing Pokemon normally. So there are Nuzlocke challenges, the Professor Oak Challenge, and the Ribbon Challenge are kind of the big things. After I completed the National Living Dex, I really wanted to get more Pokemon and play more Pokemon besides just shiny hunting. I'm a big shiny hunter. And this challenge seems really interesting and unique to me. And basically what this challenge is you take a Pokemon that you can first catch in that generation, and you work it all the way up through generation to generation and collect these so-called ribbons. Now these ribbons are on a summary screen in various games, within the games, as well as they're in Pokemon Home in the app, not the actual home app on the Switch, which is kind of weird. At least I can't find them. So you can view them here, and I decided to go with 3 of my favorites, which I'll talk about in a second. But I started this challenge after seeing a few other people do it on Reddit and see them do it on YouTube, and it seemed really challenging, and I already had almost all the games at the time, so I figured, why not? So this challenge is very long, very tedious. It took me about 150 to 200 hours to complete this, and there's some really, really good YouTube tutorials out there. So I'm not going to spend time going through actually my entire experience, but I'm going to talk about a little bit of some of my favorite parts and some of the most challenging experiences and my thoughts on the entire process. So I started with Pokemon XD Gale Darkness, which is technically 3rd generation on the GameCube. So I started there and transferred all the way up to Pokemon Sword and Shield and Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. So going through this process, I collected technically a total of 85 ribbons. So these are 40 individual ribbons that you can see on the screen here. And those 40 individual ribbons consist of 40 contest ribbons and 7 battle memory ribbons, totaling up to the 85. And I think those are the numbers. I might be slightly off. But those are all the ribbons that I have been able to collect through all these. So I wanted to start with one of my favorite Pokemon. This Pokemon gets no love and no respect ever, and everyone says he's replaced by Heracross, which is not totally a lie, but I wanted to start with Pinsir. And I'm a big Pinsir fan. I have the plush. I have the Pokemon Crystal Ball thing with Pinsir inside of it. I have, my wife even made me a shiny Pinsir picture a little bit ago as a funny joke. And then I also had a friend customize some shoes for me, Pinsir. So you can see I'm a pretty big Pinsir fan, and he doesn't get enough love and respect. So I decided to start with my favorite bug to start this challenge. So I brought him up through Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness, and it was actually really unique. I'll talk about, I think I'm actually technically the first one in the Hall of Fame with a Pinsir Ribbon Master, at least what I could see, unless I'm seeing it wrong. But I basically started with Pinsir, and I ended up bringing Snorlax in too because I was nervous. What if they don't have Pinsir in future games? And it looks like, as of Scarlet and Violet, which releases the day this video goes out, it looks like Pinsir isn't in it at all. So, from what I'm seeing. So I am excited. I decided to go with Snorlax, and then I realized Snorlax isn't in it, and I actually got Scyther going too. So I have 3 Ribbon Masters, Scyther, Pinsir, and Snorlax. So I call Pinsir Mr. Bug. I've had that name forever. I don't know why. Snorlax is Tubbo, and Scyther doesn't have a name. So if you have a good name idea, put it in the comments below, and maybe we'll switch his name to that. So I started with Pokemon XD Gale Darkness, like I said, for all 3 of these, and transferred, collected the ribbons there. I think there were only 2 there. And then walked through to Pokemon Emerald, then to Pokemon Platinum, Pokemon Soul Silver, Pokemon White 2, Pokemon Y, Pokemon Alpha Sapphire, Pokemon Ultra Moon, Pokemon Brilliant Diamond, Pokemon Sword, and there's technically a ribbon in Pokemon Arceus in the data, but it's not confirmed yet. And then there's 2 new ribbons coming for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, obviously that I haven't collected yet. That I think I will only be able to get with Scyther, sadly, unless they go and add Pinsir and Snorlax in later through DLC. But these 2 ribbons, one is like a surprise trade, which I don't think anyone's going to go after, so I don't think it's going to count. The other one's just beating the Elite Four. So these various ribbon challenges can vary from just collecting through Pokemon, like going and completing the Pokemon League, doing the contest, are so tedious and can be such a pain to do. You can just talk to certain NPCs on specific days, maximizing friendship, even purchasing ribbons. There's all different types of ways to collect these ribbons. It was really cool and unique to go through the experience and hunt down and track all these ribbons. Some of the most challenging parts, I would say, is definitely for me was Pokemon. Like I said earlier, I'm not a big competitive battler. I'm more of a shiny hunter. So going through Pokemon Emerald's battle tower was a nightmare at first. That was my first big challenge I had. Not being a super competitive battler, I can hold my own, but I always knew this battle tower was challenging. And I know Pokemon Sapphire and Emerald, apparently their battle towers are easier. But I restarted Emerald. I had my whole playthrough for Emerald, so I'm like, I'm beating Emerald, and it took me forever. And I feel so much more accomplished getting through that battle tower, and proud that I was able to do that. I had to go and breed Pokemon. I think it was a Latios I had to go through with, and I forget who my second one is, and I basically had the third Pokemon, either Pins or Snorlax, or so they're sitting in the back, and try to sweep without them or use them in case I needed to in desperation. So that was my first challenging experience, and it actually kind of taught me how to battle competitive definitely better. So I'm excited that I've kind of learned that skill and kind of grew from that. But that was my first challenging experience, I would say. And the second one I would say is dealing with the Sheens. So a lot of people don't know what Sheens are. So when you do the Pokemon contest, you either have to feed them Poffins, or you have to feed them the berries to give them the Pokeblocks. So basically you have to raise their contest stats, which are beauty, tough, cuteness, smart. I think that turns to cleverness later. There's all different types, and you need to feed them a certain amount of Pokeblocks, or feed them a certain amount of these Poffins to get those maximum stats. But you can only feed them a certain amount of each one of those, I would say, foods or nutritions to increase that stat. So because of that, it's called Sheen. So if you maximize your Sheen, the Pokemon can't eat anymore. I don't know how that makes sense or why they put that in the game, but that was the most difficult part, because I actually had to go and restart one of my Pokemon to go because I messed up the Sheen so bad, so I had to restart from there. But doing these challenges and the contest with the Sheen was probably the most difficult part for me, because a few of those, they were close enough, and I just had to try to get by, and that's kind of what I did. So it was an interesting experience to go through that. And the last, I would say, most challenging one for me, again, I'm not a competitive battler, but going through and doing, I believe it is called the Master Rank ribbon. So this is a ribbon in Pokemon Sword and Shield that's only going to last until, I think, December, until they shut down those servers. But getting to the Master Rank in the ranked battle for Pokemon Sword and Shield, I really struggled with, because one, when I competitive battle or tried to, I didn't like using legendaries. I think it eliminates the pool of Pokemon that are actually utilized, because people just run right to legendaries, obviously, because they have the best stats, so why wouldn't you use them? But that was probably my biggest, I would say, hurdle to get over, especially towards the end. The Twinkling Star ribbon was in Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. That's one I just completed, actually, tonight to wrap it up. But as the time I'm recording this video, but that one was just annoying versus being super difficult. Once you kind of figured it out, it was just luck of the draw, and if you can click the buttons quick enough, this kind of was my experience. So I just wanted to give you my thoughts and experience on the Pokemon Ribbon Challenge, because looking back, I mean, I have such a weird, it's weird because it's a video game, but I have such a weird, strong bond with these Pokemon that I spend 150 to 200 hours with, just transferring up from generation to generation, from moving them from the GameCube using the link transfer to bring them up to my Game Boy. I think I brought it to the SP, I played on the Micro, I played on my Game Boy Advance, and then moving over to the DS, the 3DS, eventually to the Switch, going through Pokemon Bank again, into Pokemon Home. It was just an interesting and really cool experience to be able to go and actually replay, because when I did it, I tried to replay almost every single game to get from start to finish, to kind of jog my memory, because I haven't played a lot of those games in quite a while. So Pokemon Scarlet and Violet come out today, if you're watching this video, and I'm so excited, and even more excited now that I completed this Ribbon Challenge. I had such a good experience. I went and replayed the old games, and I definitely wanted to make this video to let you know that this was a really cool experience for me, and I 100% recommend it there are definitely some roadblocks, like Pokemon games are expensive. Getting the systems are expensive if you don't have them. There are some workarounds if you go actually online. You can start it in almost any generation. There's an amazing subreddit for it, which has a Hall of Fame, which is really cool. So you will see my Pokemon in there as well, where you can go and once you're done, you can register your Pokemon there. But people are there for advice. They tell you, any experiences they have, they'll give you recommendations. I'm just nervous that this challenge is going to be limited in the future because there's already a few ribbons that are technically excluded now. For example, like Pokemon Sword and Shield, the Master Ribbon that I struggle with is probably going to be excluded if it's not continued in Gale Darkness. So once they shut down their servers, there's no way to really obtain it. So there are a few exceptions to ribbons from getting technically every single ribbon possible, but that's one issue. You'll lose the ability to do ribbons. But the second thing is that 3DS, if they close that Pokemon Bank, you're going to lose the ability to transfer from any Pokemon starting from before Let's Go. And that's kind of the fear. So that's my fear, and kind of why I wanted to make this video. I kind of wanted to let you know my experience, tell you how much I've enjoyed going through it, and it's such a rewarding experience. Tell you, I highly recommend it. The hardest part was finding the time to do it, because there's a lot more research and stuff involved, but it was just a really, really, really cool experience, and I'm excited because it looks like I can only use Scyther in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet for that ribbon, but I'm excited to keep moving forward while completing national dexes and obtaining every ribbon possible. It's just a lot of fun and a really cool, fun thing to do. So thank you so much for listening, guys, and if you enjoy videos like this, please comment, like, and subscribe. Let me know if you have any interest in doing the ribbon challenge, if this is something for you, and if you do, what Pokemon that you have done this challenge with. Also, give me a name for Scyther if you have one below. I could definitely use the help. Thanks, guys.